I want to welcome you to another episode of Mindset Growth. Our guest today I've known for 20 years, seen a lot of change in this person over the years, and this is very exciting for me. It's a little unusual, but I have my daughter, Mikenzie, and she has informed me I need to call her by her nickname, Mick. So welcome to the show. Happy to have you, and this is going to be fun. I'm sure it's exciting for you to be on with Dad. You can wrap me out.
So excited. Ready to get into the dirt.
All right. Ready to get into the dirt. Well, you create some of that sometimes.
It is what it is.
All right. We're going to start with a couple rapid fire questions, get you fired up, warmed up, get your heart pumping, juices flowing. What's the dumbest way you've ever been injured?
Ooh. I was playing dodgeball with some high school students like last month, and I ran into a marker board and I had a bruise on my hip for like 3 weeks, and I just felt so stupid.
You know, the dumbest way I think I've ever seen anybody injured that you were involved.
Oh, I know what you're going to say.
Golf cart?
Yup. Yeah, I did that.
To a friend, a family friend.
Yeah.
That was a little bit younger than you. You were teaching her to ride the golf cart.
Well,
I have to tell the story.
A bug flew in my eye. Okay, I couldn't see.
That's now your excuse 10 years
later? That's what
later?
happened. That was my excuse 10 seconds after it happened.
I never heard about the bug before.
It was a bug. A bug flew in my eye. And so obviously I had to take both hands to like rub my face.
But you weren't even driving.
Oh,
she was driving.
That was when we ran into the tree.
Right.
I was thinking when I ran into the clothesline.
I never knew that happened.
Yeah, because it was messed up afterwards.
I don't know that you guys told me. I don't think I knew that story.
Yeah, we ran into the tree because I grabbed the steering wheel.
Oh, so how about the clothesline? When did that happen?
Well, the bug flew in my eye. And so you know how we had like the wires to stabilize it? Ran right into that.
That's
and it was
why
bent.
the one was broke.
Yes.
Oh.
That was me.
I don't think anybody told me that story, and you probably swore them all to secrecy.
Well, snitches get stitches. We learned that when we were young.
Not from me, you did not. But you probably taught each other that. Okay. Well, the time I was thinking is when you were teaching a friend to drive the golf cart and tell her to turn, and you turned her right into a tree, and she got hurt.
Yeah.
And my favorite line out of the whole thing, that night I'm tucking you into bed, and I asked you what happened. And you go, well, you see, Dad, I was under a lot of pressure.
I said that.
Like this was some big event. And I'm like, yeah, right. So you just steer her right into a tree.
My driving record hasn't gotten much better either.
All right, we'll move on. We won't go into that one too far yet. What character from a kid's book or movie reminds you most of yourself?
Ooh. I've been told Bambi. I don't really know why, but I watched it recently and I'll take it. I don't know. People say I sometimes act like a scared little deer.
Really?
But I think Bambi was kind of tough, so I'm going to go with it.
I don't really see you as a scared little deer. I feel like you can plow through about anything. Okay, interesting. Where would you travel if you knew there was a chance you would have to stay there for up to a year? It's really funny to ask you that question, but it wasn't really your choice to travel there.
No, so I was already in Japan for 2 years. So I think next I would go to Germany if I could. Somewhere in Europe.
All right. And just for the audience to know, she is mixed in the Air Force and spent 2 years in Okinawa.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you just lead in and tell us a little bit about that?
Okay.
What you did over there and what you were...
Yeah. So I enlisted straight out of high school and then got stationed in Japan. Not my choice at all, but I'm glad that it happened. I worked in the clinic on Kadena Air Base, and I worked in medical records. And then I went to the Exceptional Family Member Program, which is like doing dependents' medical clearances for when they move.
Okay.
So it was a lot of customer service and a lot of desk work.
And you enjoyed it?
I enjoyed the aspect where I got to talk to people a lot. I think I like to move around a little bit more than that, but...
And just a little bit about that. You went over there on the 3rd of January in 2020.
Yes.
And expected to have family members come see you and to come home to visit. And then COVID kicked off.
Mm-hmm.
So literally, what was that? The 12th of December, 2021, almost 2 years later.
Yeah.
You finally made it home?
Mm-hmm. And I had to go through a lot of paperwork to be able to be home for Christmas.
Because you're not supposed to be released until January the 1st again.
Yeah.
So we're grateful to have you sitting here after almost 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll get into some of that probably a little bit later. But yeah, going places, it's really probably helped shape a little bit of who you are.
Definitely.
What is the best "my coworkers are crazy" story you have?
Well, so we played a lot of practical jokes on each other. And so I think the best one was one of my coworkers stole my ID card and taped it to the ceiling. And he also taped my hat to the ceiling. And then our squadron commander came, like doing his rounds, walked through, and he was standing right under my hat. And I just remember thinking, like, it has my name on it. I am going to get in so much trouble if this thing falls on him. And so it's just dumb stuff like that. Like every day we just ripped on each other.
So you tried to make it as fun as you could, even though you were stuck thousands of miles from home. What's your greatest achievement so far?
Ooh, I don't know. Probably just making it through like the past 2 years and being able to grow out of that and kind of what that set me up to be in the path that I'm on.
Okay. And it's kind of the beginning of maybe who knows what, so.
I don't.
You don't know yet, do you?
Nope.
Can you tell me what your morning routine is?
Yeah. So right now it's a little off because I just got home on Saturday, but it's very much based on the military's clock. And so sometimes I would have like PT in the morning or a commander's call or a morning meeting. So I usually would try to go to the gym around like 5 a.m., work out for about an hour, and then go like shower, get ready, hit the DFAC, get food, and then go to work. I just try to work out in the morning.
So you like to get up in the morning, get your day started, heart pumping.
Yep.
What are some things you look back on in your childhood that helped you along your path, like foundational things?
I think we were always taught to work really hard and to have a good attitude while doing it. And that definitely plays over into where I'm at now. Before I left, I had gotten, like, my leadership talked to me and they just let me know, like, that they noticed that work ethic and that I always had a smile on my face and always said good morning to everybody. And so I think that was something that really set me up to start being successful in my military career.
So you've learned to smile even when you're irritated.
Yeah. It's kind of easy because I have to wear a mask, so I can just fake it with my eyes and I can like gawk at people like, ugh, are you serious?
Not really. Your eyes will tell a lot.
People say I roll my eyes quite a bit.
Yep. You're
I never notice it.
Oh, yeah. I've seen that look many times. But what about the childhood? I mean, you say work ethic. What are some experiences? What are some things? Can you recall some things that happened and you go, that sucked, but now later, like, okay, it's making sense why my parents or teacher or somebody had.
I don't know the correlation, but I just remember snapping beans and gardening in the summer, like it felt like all day, every day we were pulling weeds. Like snapping beans. We each had our own row that we had to take care of. And I think that just taught, like, if you work hard now, you can play later.
And eat.
Yeah, I guess.
You requested beans as your homecoming meal, so
I did.
I guess
It was on there. Green beans.
So it must have not totally ruined that for you.
Nope.
What about your softball career? Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
I don't even remember that. That was such a short time. Was not coordinated. Still not the most coordinated. I don't think I had a whole bunch of, like, competitiveness in me to want to do that.
You're very competitive.
I was scared of the ball.
Right? Yeah, you kind of segued out of that into dance, which fits you much better. So I wouldn't say you're not coordinated. I think you didn't understand the game, maybe.
I didn't like having a ball thrown at me. That was scary. I don't know why anyone likes that. I don't want to do a sport where I have to wear a helmet.
One of my favorite pictures, though, is of you playing ball, and I carry it all the time. That's why I had to ask you about it, because that was... It actually looks like you were really good and knew what you were doing.
I wasn't. That was such a short-lived. I hated every second of it. Like,
Between that picture of you fielding that ball and getting into the batter's box were absolutely my highlights. You could kick dirt like a mad bull.
I know. You guys would make fun of me for that.
You would dig trenches. I thought your feet were going to get stuck in, but it looked good. I think you were just prolonging the fact that they were going to throw a ball at you to hit.
Definitely was. I don't think I hit a single ball either.
I couldn't remember that. I just remember you getting in the batter's box. It was hilarious.
Well, I was getting traction.
No kidding. You were in a rut so deep you couldn't have slipped. After graduation, you moved out of home and went to basic training. How was that experience, moving away for the first time, going to where you didn't know anybody?
Yeah, looking back, it was like the best experience of my life, and I would go back again. I thought it was so much fun. In the time, I remember when I like hugged mom goodbye after MEPS, and I sat on the bus and I cried the entire way there. Just like from the bus ride to the airport to the bus ride in tech school from the airport, like I was bawling. I was like, what did I just do to myself? Why didn't I choose college? Like, this is the biggest mistake ever. It's definitely shock and awe. They say that a lot, and it's very true. Just like you get there and they're like, pick your bags up, put them down, pick them up, put them down. And you just get into this groove of you do what's told before they finish telling you what to do. I did fall out on the first day. I fainted. And I fell out of formation. That. I'm sure I told you. But yeah, they had like called an ambulance. It was so embarrassing. They called an ambulance and I had to go to the ER so they could give me like IV and fluids because I was so dehydrated. Probably because I was crying a lot. But then they made me the hydration monitor for the rest of the time. And so every time we were outside doing drill, it was my job to like yell like hydrate, and then everybody had to yell hydrate, and then we all drank water. They did that to another girl with sunscreen, but just like stupid little things like that. They pick on you to like tear you down and then build you up. But I met great people through it, and I loved the schedule and the discipline that came along with it.
So it made you a better person, though.
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
Taught you a lot of. What you commented about crying. I did not know that either. But as a very young child, you were extremely emotional, but you kind of grew out of that through elementary or into middle school.
Well, I wouldn't say that I grew out of it myself. I think you guys encouraged me very strongly to toughen up.
Or to manage your emotions and not go into reactionary mode right away.
Yeah.
So try to think through the process of what's actually happening. So
no, I remember third week we got a phone call home and I was sniffling and like choking back the tears. And one of you two asked me like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm sick." But then I hung up and I just bawled my eyes out. I was so scared. I was like, I don't know what I did to myself. I want to go home.
So you were homesick.
Yeah.
There for a little bit.
Yep.
Soon after you were hit, we talked about this a little bit. You were stationed in Japan. The pandemic hit, not allowing you to leave. First time you're away from your home, you have it for really any extended period of time. Even at basic training, how long was that?
I was at basic for 2 months.
So 8 weeks, and then you've seen
school
us
for 4.
Right. But you've seen us through that process, because even during tech school, like I came to visit you, and your sister was close,
there.
was there
She was
on
in the same building.
which was actually kind of amazing.
That doesn't happen.
No, it never happens. So you guys were fortunate to have each other through that process. How did you stay motivated during that 2-year span over in Okinawa?
I didn't. My first year there was really rough, and I didn't call home a lot because it just made me sad. I think I had bad anxiety while I was there that first year too. I just remember going in public and being so scared, and like I couldn't hardly walk anymore. But then I think I met some great people who invested in me and quickly became family. And I had started going to church more again and getting involved there with like teaching at Sunday school or working with the youth group. And that's where I really found my like drive to want to serve other people. And then that carried on into my work, and I was able to do a lot better at my job because I felt I knew what my purpose was. And so that's what kept me going through it.
So a key lesson out of that is you took your focus off of yourself and you started to focus on what you could do to help others. And when that happened, it really changed how you viewed the situation you're in, and what really even maybe what how you were going to contribute to others in life. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah. Yeah, that's
so. I guess the lesson is for all the listeners out there. I think so often we look at our situation and where we're at, and it's always seems so monumental or so large we can't overcome it, and it's just awful. But I know I've experienced it many different times. As soon as we can start to focus on other people and what we can do to help and serve others and help others reach their accomplishments and successes, it really shifts a lot within us. Mm-hmm. And I think that was probably one of those experiences that you went through over there doing that. It kind of leads us into the next question. What are some positive experiences that came out of that?
So I think, I got a lot of cool opportunities that not many people get to experience in life.
Tell us about some of those, a couple of them.
Yeah. So I got to this last 4th of July weekend, I went to Tokyo and just got to see around the city and go see some of the temples that are there.
Okay.
And just experience their culture is very different than ours here. And so that's really cool.
Was that eye-opening to see how different? Because I know you grow up, we always think everything we know is our world. It's the best way or whatever, or the right way.
Yeah, so I think that one of the things that I really enjoy about the Japanese culture is how unmaterialistic they are. Like there will be a family of 5 or 6 living in a 2-bedroom house, and they're just happy as can be, or like no one drives super nice cars, at least in Okinawa. No one drives super nice cars because it's not necessary. They're just there to live a happy life, and it's not about the things that you have that contribute to that. And I think that's something that in America, a lot of people think that the more I have or the more money I have, that's what's going to make me happy. But
America is a very consumer society,
yes,
materialistic. It's just kind of the mindset, which that's not all negative either.
Yeah,
it's there's a lot of it's a capitalistic society. Really what it does is it sets up a lot of what our government was founded on, and that's probably why we though enjoy the freedoms and the things we do in America, because of how the structure of our government is. And that's probably one difference you've seen, how their government's structured different, also then their people think differently.
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting. What are some other experiences you had over there?
I think I know what you're leading up to.
Well, share the others
but-
first because that's a great one.
Well, I did go to Hacksaw Ridge.
Yeah.
Because the Battle of Okinawa. And that was just really cool. They had a plaque that kind of said something about Desmond Doss. And it was just really cool. I watched the movie and kind of researched him a little bit before I went. And then you could see the tunnels that the Japanese would use.
I'm going to stop you just a little bit because I had done some research on Desmond Doss too. And what was the name of that movie again? It was
Hacksaw Ridge.
No, I understand, but he was the.
I think that's the name of the movie.
He was the corpsman that didn't carry a gun.
Yeah, so
And
he was a pacifist and he was a medic.
But he felt led to serve his country.
Yes.
So he went in and became a medic, but refused to carry a gun. And he literally, under gunfire, for hours, day and night, carried people and fast roped them off of the ridge himself. And he saved just multitudes of people, which was an incredible battle going on.
Yeah, I forget the number, but I think it was upwards of, I want to say 75 to 100.
Yeah, I think it was.
And there were Japanese soldiers too that
he saved everybody that he came to, and I think it was mostly in a 24-hour period.
It was overnight.
Yeah, and how he had the strength to keep scaling the rope.
Because he was a small person too.
Right, but he would fast rope down with folks and get them down off the ridge. So that was, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I wanted to lay some context on who this is, because it's so much we lose history of what, we talk about. If we don't know our history, we repeat it. So we make the same, if I don't share with you the things I screwed up, then you're going to probably go out and screw up the same stuff. So it's beneficial for parents to share with their kids and grandparents with grandkids and so on. And even then know our cultural and our country's history so we don't repeat that. So I encourage anybody to go out and read that and watch that, because it's I think it's helped me be very appreciative of the freedom we have in America, knowing what so many service men and women went through to give us this freedom. But go back to Hacksaw Ridge and tell us a little bit more about that then.
It was super cool. It looks very different now. They've maintained it, but there's not that big rope ladder that they had. There's grass, bushes now. But that was just a really cool experience to be able to be up there and look out, and you can see Okinawa. It's a beautiful view, but just to picture what it would have looked like then is just crazy. And especially I've gone on hikes there and it kicks your butt, and I can imagine carrying a gun and going through there to fight people. I can't even hardly
dressed to climb it. You couldn't hardly.
Yeah,
it was hard work. Yeah,
it was. Yeah,
I think your grandfather had 2 cousins that were over there and served in that area. I don't know exactly where they were at, but they were over there during that time.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Yes. So I did get an opportunity to have a passenger flight with the rescue squadron over there. And
what branch?
Air Force.
Okay.
So it was the HH-60 helicopter. It was super cool.
Can you describe the helicopter a little bit so listeners understand what type of, is it it's not like a Chinook's, a big monster machine. What was this like? More like a regular,
Yeah, so it was like a regular, you had the pilot seats in the front, and then you had the spots for the 2 gunners in the back, and then they took little folding chairs so we didn't have to sit on the ground, because it was me and this other guy that was in there.
So it's really a medevac.
And they just set it, a
medevac chopper.
So the stuff that you would see in the movies.
You could see they could put how many cots in there if there were litters, if they were taking somebody out. What was 2 or 3 people they could take out at a time?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. All right.
But it was pretty cool. And then they had their 50 cal machine guns on there, and I got to get behind one of those. That was probably the best experience ever.
And shoot it.
Yeah.
not just get behind it. Cool.
Yeah.
And so you went out with them to do a training mission. Essentially is what happened.
Yeah, it was really cool. They did in-flight refueling too.
Oh.
And so which the HH-60s, they have, like, you can see it. It's like a long pole, and that's where they do their refueling.
Okay.
And so that was super cool to see them go up and like communicate with the boom operator and connect to it.
Huh.
Because like it was just the draft from the plane and hearing the pilots talk about and being able to feel it. It was amazing. It was really cool.
And how'd you end up on that?
I just did some paperwork for one of their guys, and my lieutenant colonel, he told me, he was like, this was really good advice. He said, I asked the he said, it never hurts to ask. He said, I can ask the Air Force for a unicorn and a helicopter. They might not give me the unicorn, but I got the helicopter. And so basically he's like, you don't have anything to lose, so go ask them. And I did, and they were like, yeah, come on, like, we'll get you on next week. And
so that's based off of just looking for opportunities and taking advantage. That's because I always try to point things towards life lessons to encourage folks. And it was just a fun experience that honestly, you can't buy a ticket to do it.
You can't.
And it's just something you probably will never have an opportunity again to experience.
Not a lot of people do either.
Right. So I know it was, some people were wondering how you managed to do that.
Yeah. I just asked.
Little perseverance and trying to create opportunities. I think so often we just look like, well, we didn't have the same options that other people had. And the truth is sometimes we don't. And I know we often talk about walking down a hallway. You have to walk the hallway to see what doors are open. But sometimes you have to push on the door too to see if it's going to open. And I'm, I guess, probably a fairly persistent person. So I'm glad you had that experience. Anything else that you got on that, or that pretty well?
That's all I can think of.
But those little things started to happen more than the second year that you were over there, and kind of helped break up your time and gave you things to look forward to. And because I could tell as a parent that you were enjoying life a lot more the second year than the first year. I think it was just a struggle to get past the fact that I'm not going to see family for an extended period of time. What are some positive experiences that come out of your 2 years over in Okinawa?
I think the number one thing is the people that I met. They quickly become family, and you develop deep relationships with these people. And I think that just comes with anytime you move away from home, especially when we're overseas. We're all in the same boat. None of us have family, so we're going to each other's houses for Christmas and Thanksgiving, and making sure that everybody's taken care of. And so I think that level of seeing other people care for me and care for others, that was something that I learned and that I kind of picked up on, and I want to carry on into the rest of my life, is just always thinking about another person and trying to understand where they're at emotionally. They might be in a hard spot, and making sure that you can care for that as well.
I think from talking with you about this, just with conversations since you've come back home, I think you've probably shifted how you, even how you judge people or don't judge people anymore. A lot of that's changed. I mean, can you talk about that a little bit? Because it's family. Honestly, I say this oftentimes: family's a lot more than blood. Sometimes family that is blood family are the people you fight with, and you have to, sort out something with. But I think when you really look at the true meaning of that, and you experience firsthand how it was something far more than blood. And how they took care of you and you helped take care of them. And what are some things you learned out of that? Like just that experience?
I think I just learned how to empathize with people more. I think I learned I'm a emotionally driven person, I've come to realize. And so I think always giving people a chance, but guarding yourself through it as well. So don't set yourself up for failure or to get hurt, but don't write people off because they're a little bit different, because everybody is different. And out of all of the people I met, a few of them were from the Midwest and similar to me. And so I think that, I just learned that just because someone's different doesn't mean they're bad, and doesn't mean that you can't get along with them, because some of my best friends that I've met from there are completely different, have different goals in life.
From like one of the coasts in America, and have different thought processes.
Yeah.
You brought up the fact that and we've kind of touched on it a little bit, and I've just decided I'm not going to let this one ride. So you've talked about the fact of being, making decisions sometimes emotionally and things like that. So I know when you were younger, you and I would have discussions about that. But I guess my question to you is, and I know you've got a tattoo on your arm in relation to this, but I know when you started to drive, I'm just going to be honest, it scared the heck out of me.
I know.
I thought you were going to kill yourself or somebody else, because I knew how quickly you would panic. And so, interesting enough, a situation arose one day where you ended up in the ditch.
Yeah. Talk
about that a little bit, but then I want you also to talk about how has that experience helped you when you were, 13-hour different time change on the other side of the world, and you didn't even want to call family because you didn't want to be reminded. I mean, how did did things like that help you with the emotional side of it?
Yeah. So my tattoo, it says, keep driving, freak out later. Well, with the story in the ditch, I fell asleep and was able to keep calm and get through it.
Well, and my advice to her was, because I was afraid she would panic as soon as maybe a car started to pull up to a stop sign too fast or something like that. So my advice for the listeners was to her that you have to continue to drive the car until it's stopped. Mm-hmm. And when that car's stopped, she can then lose it. But till it's stopped, she has to keep breathing, think about breathing, and continue to keep both hands on the wheel and run the pedals and get the car to a stop. Mm-hmm. At that point, she can then let it fly. And that's why it was just a matter of trying to process through that. So that's just to give them some background on that. It is.
And after that moment, you use that for everything, man. I would have a dance performance and you would tell me, you'd bring it up after my performance. But I was able to carry that on. In my job, I have to give briefs, and brief sometimes very high ranking people. And so I was able to use that and put it into, I'm talking, I'm going to slow, stay calm. And then afterwards is when I can be freaking out after. But in the time being, I need to stay calm and stay focused, and kind of fake it till you make it. And just through the stressful situations that get thrown at me, I've been able to apply it and see something and stop, break it down, and just focus on the next step to keep myself from freaking out. And then I can, once I get through it, look back and be like, oh, that wasn't that bad. And I'm glad that I didn't flip and have panic, because
a meltdown.
Yes.
And each time
I had a lot of those as a kid.
And each time that happens, it builds confidence, which helps you the next time.
Yeah.
It really kind of adds right into what I have, the next question, or what it is, and that is, does your decision-making how does your decision-making process work, and do you have certain steps you go through? I guess I don't know if you have anything to add to what you just said, but I know you kind of try to compartmentalize is how I'm taking what you're saying, and break it down and just take it a step at a time. Yeah.
Well, I think even for decisions, I'm very much, when my mind's made up, it's made up. And I'm like, oh, that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, you're
That's going to happen. I was I heard active duty Air Force. I was like, that's it. There's no other hope, this is what I'm going to do. And sometimes those don't follow through. So I've learned to, once I have an idea, I'm going to set myself a time limit to sit with it, because it's not a decision that needs to be made now. And if I still feel the same way about it later, then I'll be like, okay, I'm going to press forward with this and just keep going. And then I have that confidence in myself that I know, at least for a while, I think this is a good idea.
Well, and it's, if not, you'll learn from it.
Yeah.
So it's always, either we win or we learn. So it's never wasted. Some of your goals, influential items that help you set them or process to stick with them, kind of leads a little bit maybe with where you're at. But, and I know at this age, you may not have super long-term goals. Nope. Because I know some of your shorter-term goals were just simply to try to get through some of these processes. And obviously you grew in ways you couldn't even imagine. But I at least know what your goal is for the next year and a half.
What's that?
Well, your enlistment goes
my enlistment.
And I don't know if you have any plans to, certainly, whether you're going to re-enlist or do another or something different. But what is that? I mean, when you go through... Yeah,
I think for my goals are always tangible things. And I think, you've always talked about like money as a measurement tool. And I think goals and achievements, especially in the military, achievements are just a good measurement to where you're at in your career. And so right now, I had a goal while I was there to get BTZ, which is below the zone. And basically you put on senior airman 6 months early and you have to put in a package and it goes up to your wing or your base command. And you go up against all of the other airmen that are eligible to promote at the same time as you. And so that was something that I had my eye on. And I know you have to put in the work to get it. It's not just something that's handed out like candy. And so I'm waiting to hear back on that. My package went up in November, and so we should be hearing soon. But that was just something that I had that goal. I had a timeline, kind of like the SMART goals that everybody talks about.
Okay. And when you talk about SMART goals and everybody, can you tell me who that is?
Well, I learned about it in high school, and then the military just keeps saying it. I forget what the acronym is, but
that's all right.
It's like achievable. You have a time limit and stuff like that.
Kind of a process to set goals and how to set a process up to accomplish them. So that's kind of the method you use to accomplish your goals.
It is. I think it's important to stay flexible when you have those goals too, though, because life doesn't ever happen the way you want it to. And so if you can't be flexible when there's a hiccup, that may set it back a couple of years, or that will push you in a different direction to get to that, then you're not going to be able to ever achieve your goals if you can't get through what life throws at you.
So sometimes it's better. Sometimes you have to overcome larger obstacles. Who are some influential people in your life growing up? And why?
Well, I think you and Mom are probably take the cake.
Why? What are some? Can you give a lesson for each of us?
Yeah. Well, I think everything you say, you always have a purpose with it. And so I think anytime we talk, I always learn something. You always teach me a new phrase that you make up. Just like with driving and applying that to every other aspect in my life, you've taught me that I can apply different, like one thing to every aspect of my life.
Sure.
And it's not just this one spot.
Right.
Yeah. And so it's like growth overall.
Right. For your mother, what's something you learned from her?
She has definitely taught me about like kindness and being selfless and just putting others first. Because we all have that tendency to be selfish and want to put ourselves above everyone else, but
we're human.
Yeah. But I think it's important, especially if you want to be successful in life, is to always be trying to make others successful and help them along their way. Just part of being a good person.
Who are some other folks?
I feel like I'm still growing up. And so I think recently in the past 2 years while I was at Kadena, I had a Master Sergeant Wisman.
Okay.
I was on an Airman's Council, and he was one of the mentors that came in for that. And he was just like all about making sure that all of us were squared away. So he'll still like, he knows that I want to go to school. I wanted to get BTZ. And so he'll still reach out. Hey, how's this going? Have you started this? Did you hear about that yet? Like, just putting the effort into his people.
So he's accountable, holds you accountable.
Yes.
To help you achieve your goals.
Yeah. I think a lot of times, especially in the military, people say like leadership is the reason that people stay in or get out.
Right.
And I think he's one of those people that would be the reason someone would stay in,
sure.
where you can see others are the reason they get out just because they're not putting time into their airmen. And
right.
Yeah.
So he's one who cared about other people and spent time serving them.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
I mean, there's quite a bit of people. I think from the like past 2 years or the past year even, I've just had a lot of people guiding me on what kind of person that I should be. And so that's just been amazing. Like, I have a lot of women who are older than me who are, I want to say in their like 40s, getting up to their 50s maybe, who have just put in the time to teach me who, like, this is who God calls you to be, and this is the kind of person that you should be living like, and they keep me accountable to that, and they reach out to me.
So you would say, from what I hear you saying is accountability partners are important.
Yes.
And that makes a difference when you're in a formative stage, or maybe you're kind of a fragile, and I don't say you're fragile, but I mean, you're over there away from your support system, your family. So. And
especially at like 20, there's so many of us there that are so young that we're trying to figure out who we are yet.
Right.
And then we're set away from everything we've known. And so a lot of people can spiral and go into a bad loop and not have direction in life. And so I was fortunate to have people who really pushed me to be better than that.
And hold that foundation.
Yes.
Okay. Any statement you want to make? Anything you want to throw in here before we wrap this up? Is there something, this is your chance to...
I don't know. I just try to like go through my days and live. I think you were talking about this earlier in another one, but like living in the moment and being intentional when you're with people. I've been really trying to focus on that. And I think it makes a difference to just not be a flaky person and to really put time and effort into others instead of just yourself or being lazy.
Very good advice. Very good advice. Well, thank you, Mick, for coming on to Mindset Growth Podcast. Listeners, you can find us out on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify. Please leave your comments and likes there, and we look forward to another one of these soon.